Did you know that all experiences in your life are for you? Welcome to Soul Musings, exploring and embracing higher perspectives with me, Dr. Connie. Discover how every experience is an opportunity for spiritual expansion when we observe and use them from the higher perspective of our soul. Explore how we can create more alignment in our lives by focusing on the essence of the experience we want, rather than the form. Learn about ways of living and working together that can build a more harmonious and cooperative world. In each episode, we share awarenesses and tools that you can use in your own soul's journey to create more love, peace, and joy. Soul Musings starts now. So hello, everyone, and welcome to Soul Musings. This is our premiere show. I know some of you may have seen episodes with Dr. Pat, but this is going to be an ongoing podcast show focused on exploring and embracing higher perspectives. But the first thing I want to do is something that I like to do when I start anything, which is just to have a kind of centering moment. And I invite you to join me in that. And what that is just tune in to that inner part of yourself. Maybe put your hand on your heart, maybe take in a deep breath, and just experience who you are on a deeper level of the soul. And you can also just see a light stream from the highest realms that you can imagine, just coming down throughout your body and consciousness, and just releasing anything that you no longer need that is not of the loving nature of who you are. And just enjoy that for a moment. And then as you come present, all you beautiful souls, sending you lots of blessings. And I want to talk to you a little bit about what Soul Musings and higher perspectives is to me. And a higher perspective to me is viewing life with the recognition that we're really more than our bodies, our minds, our emotions, even more than our unconscious, that we're part of spirit, individualized as a soul. And from that perspective, our experiences offer us opportunities for mastery, to learn, to grow, and to expand spiritually. And I purposely put in the word exploring because to me, that's an attitude or approach that says, listen and look at the ideas being presented with an openness and then see if they resonate for you. And the ones that do, embrace them and work them to see what value they might have for you and your life. And just as an aside, what I'll be covering in today's episode is also in the workbook that I'm offering to the Soul Musings viewers and listeners. You can just contact me through my website, soulmusings.org, and ask for it, and I'll send you the PDF file. So why are we talking about spiritual Olympics and spring training? Well, spring is next year, and it's a good time to plant seeds of what we want. At least spring is next year in next week in the northern hemisphere. I've got friends down under, so that's a little different. But it's also a time like a lot of sports teams like baseball start training. And I like to use the metaphors of seeing ourselves as spiritual athletes in the spiritual Olympics of our life, because to me it engenders a more empowered attitude, especially when we're facing challenges. We can choose to be an active player in our life instead of being at effect. Athletes know that they need to train, they need to practice. And they also know that when they're challenged by something like their coach raising the bar, that's not against them. If something is challenging, it's really an opportunity to be more of who they are as an athlete, or for us to be more of who we are as we practice qualities of soul like love and joy and peace and compassion. It helps us see life's challenges as the opportunities for growth that they are, and see them as something that is actually for us. How we deal with challenges is just feedback as to how we can strengthen the spiritual muscles that will help us cope and deal with other situations in life. And as we strengthen those, what I call spiritual muscles, we can more and more live those qualities of life that we want to generate, no matter what's going on outside of ourselves. That doesn't say we don't take action with things in our lives that present themselves, but we want to come from that place that's more centered and clear and not as reactive. And that can be a quality of our life that we want to more and more move into. It's also not to say that it's not okay to feel feelings, even when they're negative. Feelings can have whole valuable information, and indeed maybe the way that we learn empathy and compassion and understanding for our fellow human beings. But it is to say that if we learn more and more to access that deeper essence inside of ourselves, that soul that is characterized by the positive qualities of love and joy, we can have the resources to kind of nurture ourselves through harsher emotions that we may experience, and even to heal them. Because, very often a negative reaction to something going on is not only in the present, it can be a signal of an earlier experience or a wound that we may have. And when that surfaces, from a higher perspective, that is an opportunity to heal. It's not a bad thing. So in this episode, we're going to talk about some specific ways that we can build spiritual muscles, and that is by setting and focusing on intentions that you'll be choosing to help you build the quality of life that you want. And these intentions can also serve as inner resources that you can use when facing any challenges in your life. This method is just not something that came out of the blue. It's something that I actually did as part of a study in completing my doctorate at Peace Theological Seminary. And first it was a self-study, designing methods that worked for me to move into more of the quality of life that I wanted. And then I shared it with others to see what degree it worked for them. All of the participants in that study did see changes in how they experienced both themselves and their lives that was more in alignment with what they wanted for themselves. So I'm offering this to you as a way of a tool that you may want to explore and try out, or even embrace if you see the value that it has for you. The core of the method is to choose an intention that can be the kind of spiritual muscle or quality that you want to strengthen. And we're going to do that in 4 areas of life: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. Now, if you want to do this on a more limited basis, you can choose just one as your main focus to work with. But ask yourself, I'm inviting you to work with this with me. Ask yourself what quality or way of being, if you could live in it more fully, would make a difference in your life. What's a word, a phrase, a quality which keys off in you an experience of yourself or your life, which you'd like to have more of? And unlike a goal, choosing an intention it's not an endpoint. It's a direction that you can always choose at any moment in an ongoing way. Again, the more we live our intentions, the stronger they become. The stronger they become, the more they color the quality of our lives, as well as being a resource for dealing with challenges and issues. And when we use them to deal with challenges, they are strengthened to an even greater degree. So I'm going to go through some examples of the kinds of intentions on those different levels. And as I go through them, just notice what comes forward for you as one that you might choose, or keys off a totally different idea of something that would be valuable to you to have more of in your life. I suggest jotting down what comes to mind, and you might be able to take some time later and edit, change, refine them until they really resonate for you. So some examples. On the physical level, intention might be something like greater health and well-being, vitality, a sense of abundance, self-nurturing, appreciating beauty in yourself and others, maybe conscious breathing. One that I chose when I was actually dealing with health issues was vitality. And you can also create a phrase or an affirmation that describes what that intention means to you. So for me, vitality, I added the phrase, all aspects of my life are energized with the vibrancy and vitality of spirit. Now, again, an intention may be something that is you're already doing and you want to do to a higher level, or it could be something like this where in my life I was not experiencing that at all. But it wasn't like a goal where I was going to be successful or a failure at it. It was always a direction that I held in my consciousness of where I wanted to go, where I wanted to be, how I wanted to live, and that I could be choosing in any moment to go in that direction, both in my consciousness and by what the things I did in the physical to support that. Now, an emotional level intention might be greater ease, more joy, living with greater patience, a greater sense of freedom, more support and caring for self and others, inner calm, relaxation. At different times, I created ones like creating joy in my life. And my affirmation was, I consciously create joy. I am consciously creating joy. Or one was loving myself. I am loving, honoring, and nurturing myself no matter what. You can see that adding a phrase can give a little bit more of a description and sense of what it is that it means to you. Intentions on the mental level might be more clarity, a better attitude, greater understanding with yourself and others, seeing from a higher perspective, listening to inner direction. I chose some like inner authority. The source is within. I listen and obey my inner wisdom. Or discernment. I am consciously choosing for me, because I used to deal with some things like indecision and decisions by default where I didn't have to really take responsibility because I just didn't decide until things were decided for me. And this was a good example of how an intention can work, because I remember being at a friend's house and there was started to be a lot of disturbance in the house, issues with roommates and different things going on. And it was really not a very supportive environment that I wanted to stay in, although I had agreed to stay longer to visit with my friend. And as I was trying to decide in my head on a mental level, should I stay, should I go, I just found myself packing and realized that this other inner part of me, because I had been choosing this intention, actually started moving me from a much deeper place than my mind. Moving on to the spiritual level, you might choose things like peace, staying in your loving, being able to forgive yourself and others, being of greater service, taking time for meditation or reflection, taking a centering moment throughout the day, surrendering to God's will, or anything else that for you would be an intention that would serve. One I chose at one point was letting go and letting God. I let go and let God, and as I let go, I am present to the blessing in all things. And for me, this was countering the impulse to want to control what was going on in situations in my life, thinking I was being responsible, but just noticing that when I got that tension of like, okay, I'm trying to make something happen in a way that doesn't serve me, it's like, let it go, give it to God, and see what actually comes forward with that openness and with that relaxation. Now, there are no right and wrong about your choices. The examples I gave are just meant to be some ways of understanding what intentions could look like, not determine what choices are best for you. This is an opportunity to focus on qualities you would like to experience more of in your life. I do recommend, however, that you state an intention for yourself in a positive way. For example, rather than saying, I want to get angry less often, or I don't want to be hurt by others' opinions, as an emotional intention, you might have the intention of staying calm, staying balanced, being at peace. You want to give yourself a direction of where you want to go and what you want, not what you don't want. And again, you can use a quality you feel you already express, but you want to build on that strength. Or you may take the opportunity to choose something that you don't experience much of in your life at all, but would love to. Again, the example I used with vitality at a time when I was dealing with health issues. One thing I want to stress is that what intentions are not. They are not standards to be used to judge your behavior or expression. They are a reminder of what you want to focus on, the positive quality you want more of in your life, the direction you want to choose. Don't use them against yourself. Once you've found the intentions that resonate for you, you'll be using these intentions, or spiritual muscles, as we're calling them, as the core of the method to develop new habits of mind. And realize that when you use intentions, they're kind of a vibration that you can contribute in a positive way towards the world, for others, and for the whole of our experience together on the planet. You become a tuning fork, and others can attune to that positive vibration that you're holding. And just imagine a world where everybody was living and sharing a positive vibration through their thoughts, words, and actions in a conscious and responsible way. So here's the method that I'm advising you to check out, that was used in the study and that you might choose to engage in as well. Once a week, take time to energize these intentions, these qualities, by doing at least one of the following things to make them more real, alive, tangible for yourself. These are all things that either I or the participants in my study did. And if I go quickly, just jot down ones that resonate for you, or just write and get the workbook that has all of this written down for you. One thing you can do is repeat them inwardly or out loud at least 10 times, really experiencing what that intention is for you. You can write them out 10 times, experiencing what the intention is for you as you slowly write. If you're more kinesthetic, writing can make a difference. Take time to visualize yourself living them. How do you feel when you're in a peaceful place? What do you hear? How does it affect what you see or what you notice? Write or journal about what living them would be like for you. Maybe write a scenario of what would be a challenging situation, or other things that could actually help. Find pictures or images that relate to your intention. Create affirmations and repeat those in the morning and at the end of the day. Find quotes that inspire you towards them. For instance, in my Consciously Choosing for Me, I use a quote by Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor. He says, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space, and in that space is the power to choose our response. In our response lies growth and our freedom." You can take these intentions and dance to them and move as if you were embodying them. You can visualize having them as a sound or a feeling going through all parts of your body. You can write poetry or haiku. An example from my study of breathing: "I am breathing peace in the midst of the pain. Peace is what I am." Or, "What makes me happy? Joyful communication. That is God speaking." You can take a walk repeating your intentions. You can do anything that helps you experience the essence and the quality of what that intention is, of what you want more of. And then daily, I want you to begin with just looking at, reading, saying the intention, and at the end of the day, looking at how you used, experienced, or how they helped in any situation. Ideally, write in a journal, but you can also just reflect on them. A quick version is choose one intention, create an affirmation if you choose, use the intention when a challenge is present, and ask how you use that intention today. I want to move on now to just an interactive part of the Soul Musings podcast, which is someone that wrote in questions. There were people that wrote questions about the other podcast, and I thought this was one I could discuss on the air because it probably relates to a lot of what people are dealing with. So Linda writes and says, with everything that's going on in the world today, how can we hold a positive intention or focus? What is there we can do? Well, some of that's answered in just this method I've described. She also says, I've heard it said that when Jesus said, I have overcome the world, it meant that he could love no matter what. How can we use that in today's world? So here's some other thoughts that I have about that, because I do keep pretty much abreast of what's going on in the world. And there was a quote by one of my spiritual teachers that helped me a lot. He says, if you look at the violence or against us in the world and you're in disturbance, it's like that's not helping. It's like if I'm in disturbance, I'm adding that disturbance, more disturbance into the world. The idea is, can we lift above it to the loving, like Jesus talked about, or Linda's referencing? And in that lifting above, the loving can actually do something that's a more positive vibration. It's like we vote with our energy, with our thoughts, our actions, our attitudes even. And it's like if you watch an election and you see like how many people are voting this, how many people are voting that. I like to imagine if we're all voting positive energy and loving, that there are little lights that are going off and eventually can cover the whole world, because it resonates. Others can resonate with the positive energy we put out. And one thing that helped me also was when I was studying Aramaic, Jesus's works in Aramaic, there was a idea that evil was unripe, not in its wholeness or fruition. So in that way, it's not stuck energy that something is evil, but it's something that can evolve. And through loving and light that we are holding and sending in the world, that can also have an effect. It's not loving as in approval or liking or condoning, but as in sending that positive energy as a resource to assist in the evolution, not only of ourselves, but all in the world. When I'm also just judging or disturbed by something, I look at the fact that there's often a vision underlying that I have that is at odds with what's going on. Things could be more peaceful. They could be more cooperative. We could be more friendly and kind to each other. But I look at what that is that's being my reference, and that's something I can put energy into. Just being against what's going on doesn't really go anywhere. But if there's a vision of what could be a better life, a better world, I can put my energy into that through visualization, through sending my loving, maybe even through some activism. The other thing is sometimes there's a little part of myself that I see in what's going on that is maybe a part that I don't want to own. Maybe I have againstness. Maybe I'm mean sometimes. Maybe I'm not totally honest. How can I own that part, love it, have it be part of my wholeness, and then be less reactive to it in terms of what's happening in the world when people are doing those things? So those are some keys that I have used in the past, and that I'm hoping can be valuable to you in some way. There's one thing about the disturbance, and adding to that, I have a personal example of when I was home one time. I get very bad migraine headaches. I was up in the middle of the night, woke my mom, and she was even more agitated than I was, going through all this pain. And I sat her down and I said, what's going on? And it turns out she was feeling very guilty because when she was pregnant with me, my brother was in the hospital and she was taking drugs that she thought maybe had affected my health as the child. And I got from that experience, her upset did not help me. If she had been in a calm, loving place, that could have been much more supportive. And that's what I want to do as someone participating as part of humanity in the world as well. So just to wrap up, we meet every Wednesday at 1:00. There are a couple freebies. You can email me for a PDF file of the workbook that goes with this podcast. You can ask for a free consult of 15 minutes, or book a session for 50% off until the next Soul Musings episode on April 9th. And we're going to end with something that I do a lot. It's a kind of prayer. It's called an intercessory prayer. And what we're doing is, opposed to asking for something specific, we're just trusting that God Spirit and the universe has more wisdom than we do. And we can send our light and our love to Spirit to be used in whatever way is what I would say is like for the highest good of all concerned. So if you want to join me in that, just again, go into that centered place. Maybe take the breath or put your hand on your heart. Connect to that part of you that is the loving, that is something beyond your mind, emotions, thoughts. And then just send that to the universe, send that to the spirit, the force, whatever it is you relate to that is a higher force in this world that goes beyond the physical. And just contribute that love to be used for whatever we're doing collectively here on the planet, or in any way that it can be of service. And thank you for joining us for Soul Musings. Please write and tell me any questions you have, anything that you would like to tell, and we can use and share with others about how the tools are working or where you're getting stuck with them. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to share those experiences. And God bless you, and peace be still. Much love. You have been listening to Soul Musings, exploring and embracing higher perspectives with me, Dr. Connie. Tune in every second Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific to learn how to use every experience for spiritual expansion and how to create the essence of the experience you want instead of the form. Learn about ways of living and working together that help build a more loving and cooperative world. Visit soulmusings.org to see more about what I offer and to book a 15-minute free consult.